The fire and the work. Before every dawn there is a fall. Not a punishment, but a descent, a remembering. The old stories called them the fallen ones, not demons, but beings of light who chose the gravity of matter so that spirit might learn the language of form. We are their heirs, each of us born carrying a fragment of the lost fire, each of us exiled into flesh to rediscover what cannot die. To fall is not to fail. It is to enter the laboratory of existence, where the soul refines itself through shadow and heat, where the divine experiments with its own forgetting. This place, the myth of the fallen ones, is a chamber for that remembrance, a gathering of echoes from the ancient sciences of the soul, where philosophy meets dream and myth becomes mirror. Here we descend not to escape the world, but to see it clearly, to read its symbols, to tend its inner fire, to rejoin the work our ancestors began when the stars were young. I am Elnad El-Kasmenai, a student of flame and silence, and you have entered the forge where story and spirit reconcile. Now, breathe. The descent begins, and with it the oldest covenant rekindles, that even in the dark, the fire remembers its name. 1. The nature of fire, the universal archetype. In the beginning there was fire, and fire remembered what the world forgot. It spoke in heat before it spoke in words, shaped stone before it shaped sentences, burned away falsehood before falsehood learned to dress. Fire is the oldest language of transformation, creation, destruction, purification, 3 names for one teacher wearing different masks. Creation is the warmth that gathers what is scattered and calls it alive. Destruction is the accurate ending of forms that have outlived their truth. Purification is the long middle, the honest heat that leaves only what can endure. Each is a flame with its own accent, yet together they form the grammar of becoming. To fear fire is human. To be instructed by it is divine. Our ancestors found their faces in its light. They learned that flame does not negotiate. It tells the truth about what things are made of. Straw makes a story and disappears. Iron sings and survives. Gold glows and remembers its nature. The universe itself is written in fire. The stars are furnaces in the cathedral of space, forever turning chaos into clarity. The sun writes its scripture across the faces of every living thing, whispering, "Become what you are." Volcanoes create islands. Lightning ignites forests only for them to bloom again. Fire destroys and gives birth in one gesture, both mercy and law. The ancients knew this. They carved its symbols into myth. Prometheus stole flame from the gods and was punished for bringing consciousness to man. Agni, mouth of heaven, carried offerings from mortal to divine. The Vestal virgins tended Rome's heart in silence, knowing the state itself would falter if the flame went out. Every culture bowed before the same mystery. Fire is the bridge between worlds. It is the element that refuses neutrality. It transforms or it devours. To light a fire is to make a covenant with change. To live near it is to live in conversation with impermanence. 2. The great work, inner transmutation. The alchemists called it magnum opus, the great work, but they were never chasing metal. They were chasing meaning. The true gold was never in the crucible. It was in the heart of the one tending the flame. The great work is not the vanity of turning lead into coin. It is the discipline of turning confusion into comprehension, pain into wisdom, instinct into compassion. It begins where you burn and ends where you become luminous without smoke. Alchemy is a map of consciousness disguised as chemistry. The blackening nigredo is despair, when forms fail and falsehoods burn. The whitening albedo is clarity, when the waters of awareness rinse what remains. The reddening rubedo is union, when the soul becomes flame without consuming itself. These are not steps in sequence, but states in rhythm, as breath is rhythm. Inhale, hold, exhale. Creation, destruction, purification, again and again across the span of a life. The work demands patience more than brilliance. It asks you to stay inside the furnace long enough for truth to temper you. You will be tempted to escape when the heat rises, to rebuild your illusions from the ash, but the great work is not for the impatient. Transformation is never decorative, it is surgical. The fire takes only what was never yours to keep. Every furnace the alchemists built was a mirror of the psyche. The substances they worked upon were metaphors for qualities within: lead, ignorance, tin, pride, iron, rage, copper, desire, silver, reflection, gold, realization. They knew that to command matter, one must first purify motive. To transmute the outer, one must reconcile the inner. The work teaches humility, for fire is exact. If you rush, you scorch. If you delay, you stagnate. If you boast, you blind yourself with smoke. Only the one who learns to listen to the language of heat can discover the philosopher's stone, not a thing but a state, attention purified into presence. The great work is performed in silence. It does not announce itself. You will know it is happening not when others see you changing, but when you stop performing the change for them. You become simpler, steadier, quieter. You begin to recognize the patterns of the cosmos playing through your own pulse. You learn that every act of creation requires a letting go. Every birth requires a burning. Every truth requires a death. To practice the work is to join the oldest lineage of all, those who refuse to flee their own flame. It is to remember that you are both the pyre and the rising smoke, both the question and the answer that survives the fire. 3. The human as the living crucible. The laboratory of transformation is not hidden in mountain halls or temple vaults. It is built into your own being. The true furnace stands behind the ribs. The human is the living crucible where matter meets meaning, where cosmos reflects upon itself. Body is vessel, breath is bellows, attention is the hand that stirs the flame. Experience is the ore, conscience is the measure of purity. The work happens in these small elements, gestures, choices, silences, until the ordinary becomes radiant. Ask yourself, what ore are you holding? What grief unworked? What envy unacknowledged? What longing half-lived? Do not cast them away. They are the metals of your making. Every shadow is material for transmutation. Bring them to the heat of awareness and listen to what resists. The rules of the inner laboratory are carved in consequence: heat without haste, silence before speech, witness before verdict. Too much fire and you destroy what could heal. Too little and you remain unformed. Patience is the philosopher's secret instrument. Begin where the heat gathers. At the words you do not say, the truths you postpone, the habits you defend against growth. Let the flame touch them. Watch what smokes, what shines, what remains. You will know you are close to gold when the fire stops demanding spectacle and begins to teach you quiet. The self, Jung said, is not an idol but an axis, the living pattern that gathers the scattered. Individuation is not escape from the human. It is intimacy with the human. It does not promise immunity from suffering. It gives suffering a task. You become not invulnerable but permeable. Wind moves through, water moves through, light abides. In the crucible of the heart, the cosmos contemplates itself. Every insight you earn refines a corner of creation. Every act of forgiveness purifies a fragment of the world. The fire that moves the stars is the same that burns in your chest, asking not for worship but for cooperation. You are the meeting of heaven and earth. You are the bridge through which the elements remember their origin. To tend your fire is to tend the world's fire. To clarify your inner light is to polish the mirror of the cosmos. Remember the vow. I will keep the flame honest. I will feed it with what is false until only what is true remains. I will tend the fire I was given and pass it forward warmer than I found it. For this is the great work, not the making of gold, but the making of a soul that shines as the world's reflection. Creation, destruction, purification, 3 movements, 1 music. As above, so below. As within, so without. The sun writes this sentence every morning. Write it back with your life. 4. The covenant of flame. When the fire finally softens to ember, what remains is not the smoke or the spectacle, but the silence that understands. The great work does not end in radiance or applause. It ends in accuracy, in the quiet recognition that nothing was wasted, that even the burning served the birth. You have walked through creation, destruction, and purification, the three syllables of transformation. You have seen that to create is to trust, to destroy is to release, to purify is to remember. And in that remembering, the fire reveals its secret. It was never outside you. The stars you admire are distant reflections of the same furnace that hums in your chest. When you breathe with awareness, the cosmos takes its own pulse through you. When you act with integrity, the laws of matter and meaning align for a moment and the world becomes whole again. The alchemist's vow is simple. Keep the flame honest. Feed it with what is false until only what endures remains. Do not worship ash and do not fear the next spark. Carry the ember forward into the unlit hours. Every dawn is another experiment. Every conversation, another crucible. Every act of attention, a small transmutation. Gold is not the prize of the fire. It is its language, and now you speak it fluently. So when you meet another traveler shivering in the cold, you will not lecture them about heat. You will open your hands and share the warmth. For the great work is not a possession, but a contagion. It passes through example, not explanation. Remember this when the world grows dim. Fire does not vanish. It changes address. Seek it in stillness, in honesty, in courage that trembles but proceeds. You will find it waiting. The same flame that lit the first dawn, now asking you to be its keeper. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the stars burn in heaven, may your heart burn on earth. Steady, clear, merciful, precise. This is the covenant of flame. Tend it and the work will never die.